Spirituality brings light, but its shadow can be a profound solitude that tests the soul.
Have you ever wondered what it's really like to live as a highly spiritual person? It's common to see spirituality associated with serenity, wisdom, and a profound connection to the universe. But what about the challenges that aren't often talked about? Today, we look into the darker aspects of being deeply spiritual, exploring the hidden struggles that come with a life dedicated to spiritual growth. This exploration aims to shed light on the less discussed but equally significant parts of the spiritual experience. Let's start by understanding what it means to be spiritual. Spirituality, distinct from organized religion, is a broader concept. It's about seeking a connection with something greater than oneself, which could be the universe, nature, or a higher power. This connection is deeply personal and can manifest through various practices like meditation, prayer, or contemplation of life's mysteries. Spirituality often brings profound peace and a sense of purpose. Those who are highly spiritual typically seek to transcend the everyday, mundane aspects of life in pursuit of deeper truths. They strive for inner growth and often exhibit qualities such as compassion and empathy in abundance. But accepting spirituality can also lead to unique challenges. As we will see, the path of a spiritual life is not always as serene as it appears. It can be fraught with isolation, misunderstandings, and the pressure to maintain a certain image. One of the less visible challenges faced by highly spiritual individuals is isolation. This isolation often stems not from a physical sense of being alone, but from an emotional and psychological distance. As one looks into spirituality, the way they view the world can change dramatically, leading to a sense of disconnection from those who do not share or understand their spiritual insights. Imagine navigating a world where your perceptions and experiences are profoundly different from those of people around you, friends, family, and colleagues. This disconnect isn't about superiority or judgment, it's simply a different way of experiencing life, which can make conventional social interactions challenging. This form of isolation can have practical impacts as well. For instance, a highly spiritual person might find common topics of conversation, like politics, celebrity gossip, or material desires, less engaging. They might seek deeper, more meaningful interactions, which are not always available or understood by others. This can lead to a circle of solitude, where spiritual individuals might withdraw, not out of desire but necessity, preserving their peace and depth of feeling, which unfortunately perpetuates further isolation. Another profound challenge is what we might call the burden of insight. With deep spirituality comes an acute awareness of the world's pain, suffering, and the often overlooked complexities of human emotion. Highly spiritual individuals are frequently more attuned to these aspects, which can weigh heavily on them. This heightened awareness can sometimes be overwhelming, especially when accompanied by a sense of helplessness about the immense scale of suffering in the world. For someone deeply connected to the spiritual and emotional currents of life, the everyday can become laden with a deeper sense of sorrow for the world's struggles. This burden can also manifest in personal relationships. A highly spiritual person may feel an intense responsibility to help others heal or find their path, which can be emotionally taxing. They often take on the pain of others as their own, which, while noble, can lead to emotional burnout. The challenge here is immense, balancing this deep awareness with the need to maintain one's own emotional and mental health is a tightrope walk that many find themselves on. As we continue, we will explore how these internal experiences influence how spiritual individuals are perceived and sometimes judged by the broader society. We'll look into the complexities of being misunderstood and the societal judgments that can come with living a life deeply rooted in spirituality. This aspect of the spiritual journey can be as challenging as the internal struggles we have just discussed. Living a deeply spiritual life often sets one apart from mainstream society, which can lead to significant misunderstanding and judgment. People who prioritize spirituality may sometimes be seen as out of touch with the realities of modern life, or as if they have their heads in the clouds. Misunderstandings may arise because their actions or motivations are interpreted through a conventional lens, which doesn't always align with the spiritual person's intentions or experiences. This can be disheartening and frustrating for those who feel they are simply trying to live according to their profound convictions and insights. Furthermore, the judgment can be harsh. In some circles, being spiritual can be equated with being impractical or naive. In others, it might be seen as a sign of weakness, an unwillingness to face the real world. This societal feedback can be tough for spiritual individuals, who may find themselves defending their lifestyle and beliefs frequently, adding another layer of stress to their lives. This external pressure can make the personal journey of spirituality feel like a public trial, where one's deepest convictions are up for scrutiny and debate. Closely related to the misunderstanding and judgment from others is the pressure many spiritual people feel to maintain a certain image. This image is often one of perpetual tranquility and wisdom, an unrealistic standard for any individual. The expectation to always appear calm, enlightened, and in control can be overwhelming. It's a misconception that being spiritual means one is free from human emotions such as anger, sadness, or frustration. The reality is that spiritual individuals, like anyone else, experience the full range of human emotions. The pressure to suppress these less desirable emotions in favor of appearing perpetually serene can lead to significant internal conflict. It's a balancing act between true self-expression and living up to an idealized image, which can be both exhausting and isolating. The internal struggle to constantly monitor and adjust one's outward expression to fit a spiritual stereotype not only hampers genuine personal growth, but can also lead to feelings of inadequacy and failure when the inevitable human emotions surface. A deeply spiritual focus often requires significant time and energy, which can sometimes come at the expense of practical, everyday responsibilities. For those deeply immersed in their spiritual journey, mundane tasks can seem less important or meaningful, leading to a potential neglect of daily duties, such as career responsibilities, household chores, or financial obligations. This shift in priorities can create a gap between the spiritual individual and the practical demands of life, which may not only affect the individual, but also their relationships with family and friends who may not understand or support such a lifestyle. This neglect can extend to personal relationships as well. As the spiritual individual seeks deeper connections and meanings, they might inadvertently distance themselves from loved ones who do not share their spiritual depth or interests. This can lead to misunderstandings and feelings of neglect among those closest to them, further isolating the individual. The challenge here is to find a harmonious balance that allows for spiritual growth without compromising the quality and attention given to everyday responsibilities and relationships. Another significant challenge faced by those on a spiritual path is the risk of spiritual bypassing. This term refers to the use of spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid facing unresolved emotional issues, psychological wounds, and unfinished developmental tasks. Instead of dealing with painful feelings or difficult personal histories, an individual might hide behind spiritual activities or beliefs. This can lead to a superficial sense of peace that does not address underlying issues. Spiritual bypassing can manifest in various ways, such as using meditation or prayer to ignore rather than confront personal problems, or adopting spiritual truisms to dismiss complex emotional realities. For example, someone might rationalize their avoidance of conflict with teachings about non-attachment or forgiveness, using these concepts as a shield against genuine emotional engagement or growth. Addressing spiritual bypassing involves a deep, honest examination of one's motivations and behaviors, ensuring that spirituality enhances rather than escapes from reality. It requires the individual to integrate their spiritual practice with a commitment to psychological health and emotional authenticity, striving for a whole and balanced self. Next, we will explore how the commercial aspects of some spiritual movements can compromise personal spiritual paths, touching on the influence of commercialization on genuine spiritual growth. This will lead us to consider how individuals can maintain a healthy balance between their spiritual life and other life aspects, recognizing the importance of this balance for overall well-being. As spirituality gains popularity, it inevitably intersects with commercial interests, which can sometimes distort its essence. The commercialization of spirituality is evident in the proliferation of products, retreats, and workshops that promise spiritual enlightenment for a price. This trend raises important questions about the authenticity and integrity of spiritual practices that are marketed broadly. For individuals deeply committed to their spiritual journey, it can be disheartening to see profound teachings reduced to commodities. The influence of commercialization on personal spiritual paths can be profound. It might lead to confusion about what true spiritual growth entails, as commercial messages often emphasize quick fixes rather than the slow, challenging work of genuine transformation. The risk here is that spirituality becomes just another consumer choice, stripped of its depth and transformative potential. For those seeking a deep, meaningful spiritual life, distinguishing between genuine spiritual opportunities and commercialized ones becomes crucial, requiring discernment and sometimes skepticism. The ultimate challenge for highly spiritual individuals is finding a balance that allows them to engage deeply with their spiritual practices while also fulfilling their roles and responsibilities in the world. This balance is not about compromising spiritual values, but integrating them in a way that enhances overall functioning and well-being. Achieving this balance requires recognizing the value of both spiritual and worldly experiences. One effective approach is to set clear boundaries and priorities. This might mean allocating specific times for spiritual practices that do not interfere with work or family commitments. It also involves being present and fully engaged in whatever one is doing, whether it's a meditative practice or a work project, recognizing that both can be part of a well-rounded life. It is helpful to cultivate a community or support network that understands and shares similar values. This can provide a much-needed sense of belonging and support, reducing feelings of isolation and helping to navigate the challenges discussed earlier. Lastly, seeking guidance from experienced mentors who have successfully integrated spirituality with daily life can provide practical insights and encouragement. In conclusion, while spirituality can offer profound benefits, such as a deeper sense of purpose and connection, it also comes with its own set of challenges. These include isolation, the burden of insight, misunderstandings, and the pressure to maintain an image, among others. Understanding these challenges is essential for anyone on a spiritual path, as it prepares them to face and overcome these obstacles. By striving for balance, authenticity, and mindful integration of spiritual and practical aspects of life, individuals can enjoy a rich and fulfilling spiritual journey. Let us remember that spirituality is not about escaping the world, but about enriching our engagement with it, making every aspect of our lives a part of our spiritual growth.